What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my tiny garage. My name is Jared, and we are back for part 2 on our John Deere Gator. If you recall from the last video, or if you missed the last video, I will put a link to that here for you to go check out. But if you recall from that video, we had some Magneto issues that we discovered. The carburetor needed cleaned, and the clutches just didn't sound healthy. So we put together a quote for the customer, and we have a little bit of work to do on this one. So we got a new Magneto, we have a carburetor kit, we're going to be cleaning the carburetor and rebuilding that. We have all new clutches, a new drive belt, and a new spark plug as well. I believe that's everything. We're going to get right into it here, and I believe where we're going to start is we are going to start with the carburetor. I'm going to get that out of here and get that into the ultrasonic to start cleaning while we start through and kind of work on everything else. So let's bring the camera over here and we'll see about getting this carburetor off. Pull out all of our bits and pieces that we put in here to get it out of the way. Might just unhook this actuation arm for the bed. Okay. So what do we got going on in here? Looks like it's going to be pretty simple. Got 2 bolts there on the front, and then our fuel line. Looks like we're going to replace this hose. This hose was pretty cracked. That'll be easy enough there to do. Let's go ahead and pull off our hose lines first. These out of our way. We got some kind of hard line over here and trying to see how exactly this thing comes off. Okay, it just pops right off there. Alright, that works. So we got the clamp on upside down, so we'll have to fix that up there a little bit. I'd have to check, make sure that didn't break. That line's pretty brittle. Okay, let's get our carburetor loosened up. It should hopefully just slide right off of here pretty straightforward. Here's a little intake. We've got a new gasket for that, I'm sure. Okay, here's our throttle plate. Can we slide this out of here? Maybe. Be able to somehow, I would think. There we go. There it comes. Yep. Slid right out of there. Okay. I believe we should be right as rain if we can finagle this governor rod out of here yet. We'll be in good shape. There we go. Okay. Our carburetor's free. Let's take this in here to the bench and get started on tearing this down. Before we get going too crazy on tearing this thing apart, I'm curious to see what their rebuild kit actually looks like from John Deere, labeled as Kawasaki. Ironically enough, Kawasaki didn't sell the rebuild kit, John Deere did. I could get all the parts from Kawasaki. Of course, they're just Kawasaki parts, but they were ridiculously expensive and way more than this John Deere kit was, so we just went with the John Deere kit. Okay, so it looks like they send us an entirely new back plate, which crazy. I don't know what would be so wrong with this one, but it's plastic. Either way, we'll use it. So we got that. We got a different new bowl gasket. And then we got all of our other gaskets. Let's get into getting these things all cleaned up and ready for the ultrasonic. I don't know what kind of material John Deere likes to use for their gaskets, but there is one thing I will say. Their gasket material is like none other. if you deal with like Briggs and Stratton a lot, or MTD, Cub Cadet, all those generic, I call them generic places, they all use the same kind of gasket. But John Deere uses, I don't know what they use. It's almost like it's leather. I know it's not leather, but it is pretty tough. I guess I should say it is John Deere. I don't know, perhaps these are Kawasaki gaskets. I don't know. These came in an unlabeled bag, so I'm not really sure if they're John Deere brand, so to speak, whoever makes them for John Deere, or if they're actually Kawasaki seals. I'm not really sure, to be actually honest with you. The bowl gasket's Kawasaki. That came labeled. That one we know, but not really sure about the rest of it. Dirty. Just gonna kind of get this pre-rinsed off a little bit so the ultrasonic doesn't have to work so hard and can actually maximize our cleaning ability. So I don't know why we couldn't reuse that. I'm not sure why they sent us a new one unless they have problems with the warping, but I don't know. A little bit of dirt getting back in here. Not too bad though. To be expected, I suppose. Dirty. Not going for perfection, but boy, that's a lot of dirt on there. A lot of caked, oily dirt too. Ugh. That was dirty. Dirty fuel. See all that sediment in the bowl there? Shoo. Look at that. It's like mud. Mercy. Definitely benefit from a good cleaning. How's our needle look? Needle looks good, no fuel in the carb. That's all good. So we're gonna dig our O-ring out of there. Boy, that, look at that. That's been in there a while. To wonder that wasn't or maybe it was leaking. Maybe that was why it was all crusty. That thing is dry rotted like crazy. Wow. Pretty bad. Alright, let's see if we can get our emulsion tube out of here. I think we might just get it. I think we will. Yeah, there it is, a main jet emulsion tube. At least there's our main jet. Can we get our tube out of there? Or is that going to be... Oh yeah, here comes our tube. Yep, there's our tube. Nice. Alright. How about our... Take this out of here. Nice. Everything looks pretty clear so far. It's definitely been a while since it's been apart. Everything looks okay. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this. I'm not going to be able to get that out of here. Our low speed. So we're just going to have to wing with that. And I have to rely on the ultrasonic pry to get that out of there. I'm not going to really worry about taking these out. The butterfly valves, we're just going to leave them be. Try to make sure it stays open. But everything else should clean pretty well with the ultrasonic, I believe. Try to get any last specks of dirt off of here. Keep our cleaning water just a little bit more fresh and cleaning where it needs to. Okay. Alright, let's get this in a jar and get the ultrasonic going. Get this in there and keep our butterfly open. And all of our bits and bobs. And of course, my concoction I like to use is Simple Green. I like to use the aircraft grade so it doesn't tarnish the aluminum. So we'll fill this full of cleaner. And then icing on the cake is a little bit of Dawn dish soap. So we'll finish filling this up with some Dawn dish soap. That helps with degreasing. Make sure it's good and topped off. All the air bubbles, if possible, worked out of it. There we go. guess we're going to go ahead and get started on our clutches. So I guess the first thing we're going to do is try to do the secondary clutch back here. So let's see if we can't slide this belt off of here. There we go. I know some of these models have reverse threads and some of them aren't, and I'm not really sure which one this is going to be. So we're just going to have to kind of try it here. This could prove interesting. Let's try this way. Up here for this front one, they give you a little access cover. You can get in there, but they don't give us an access cover here, so this is all going to have to be by hand. Let me try switching this to this one. Well, we're moving, but I almost think that was more like tightening it. Let's try going this direction once. Yeah, there we go. Sort of wondered if that felt like it was going the wrong direction. There we got it. Alright, looks like they had a little bit of thread lock on there. It's good to know. Put a little bit back on it. Now, I see our next issue is going to be this muffler. We're going to have to take this muffler off. Didn't really notice that before till we got to this point, but yeah, we're going to have to take that muffler off. Oh boy. Go. All right, now we should be able to get to our clutch and slide that off of here. Perfect. So we got a very simple spline shaft. Shaft looks pretty good there. That looks good. Let's move on and get our front clutch off. That way we can take them inside the shop then on the table and compare the clutches that we got. We went with aftermarket. Make sure everything looks the same. So it looks like John Deere gives us a little access cover right down here on the side panel. Let's see if we can get that squeezed out like a little access hole. That goes right in through the side and right in there. Looks like we got another cover on our clutch. Let's see if we can't get that pulled out. A little dust cover. There we go. Dust cover pulled off. And now we can get right in there to the mounting bolt, which almost looks like it might be 1/2 inch. Nope. Nine sixteenths instead. 9/16 it is. All right. Let's see if we can't buzz that bolt out of here with our impact. Nice long bolt. All right, let me go get my puller that I got and hopefully it'll fit for this application. Well, it acts like it's going to work. Basically all it is a threaded piece of rod with a center push. So it's going to go in there, and it has larger threads on the outside of it, so you can see look totally different. And what it should do is hopefully push that clutch back and off the crankshaft. So let's gingerly get this all worked into place and real slowly see what happens. I don't even think it's moved at all. Careful of our fuel line. That moved up and out of the way a little bit. That'd be the last thing we need. Hey, look at that. I'll be. Man, I didn't think that was gonna work. Wow, that's amazing. I wasn't expecting that at all. I'm just all kinds of surprised. That thing's a little bit warm. We're just gonna let that sit there and cool down a little bit, and then we'll take that off. In the meantime, I think our carburetor might be done, so let's hop inside the shop and take that out and kind of look and see how that cleaned up. Yeah, definitely did. Definitely had some dirt to it. Got some fresh water here to kind of clean things up a little bit, get all that cleaner off. Those look like they cleaned up pretty decent. Pretty happy with that. Take our welder tip cleaner, make sure all of our passageways and holes are all open. Everything looks pretty clear, to be honest. Looks like it cleaned up really well. Pretty happy with it, really. A little bit of that old rubber seal still kind of stuck on the top, but it's coming right off. So it looks real good. Go around on that seal joint, make sure all the small bits are out of that. Thing's looking really good. I will take an air hose and blow all the passageways and holes out here as well. Well, everything looks really cleaned up. That's great news. There we go. Alright, we'll let all that stuff air dry. Let's move on and see if that clutch is cooled down enough. I'll be able to pull that in here and take a little look at that on the bench and see what that looks like. Okay, we got our old clutches in here. Here's our primary. That was what was so stuck on there. So there's our primary. Be interested in taking this apart and maybe seeing what that looks like in there. And then here's our secondary. Of course, this one here was easy to get off. So let's pull out one of our clutches, one of our new ones, and see what they look like. So here would be our primary. Here's our dust shield. So how's everything look? Well, on first glance, everything looks like it should. I can see that this one is open wider because I'm just holding them up here end to end. I don't know if you probably won't be able to see it on camera, but the new one is open about, well, I don't know exactly what it might be. Looks like about 1/8 of an inch. Let's just see if our measurements say. That is 2 5/16. Yeah, so this one here is open just about a 1/16 more. So that's a good thing. How's our backs look? Our backs look pretty well the same, best as I can tell. Everything else, as best as I can tell, looks like it's the same. We can measure this way, I guess. Looks like we got about 7.5 inches round. Yeah, about 7.5 inches round. Yeah, right on the dot. So as far as I can tell, it should be the same. Now, how easy is it to... Well, you can... I don't know if you can hear that. I'll try to do it real quiet here for the microphone to pick up, maybe. You might be able to hear how... It's real smooth. This one here isn't as smooth. Otherwise, everything seems to be the same. Feels like it's the same. So that's good. Let's check out our secondary next. See how close this one looks. Okay. How's our spline count? Get a little something to hold my place. So we got 1, 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 19 splines. Yeah, it looks 19 splines. Good. So that's good. Okay. How does it all look this direction? Alright, looks about the same. I'll see if I can get this up here for you. Look at those pawls. These little pawls here. See how much they're worn? Definitely worn a fair amount. How's our backside? All looks the same. Got 10 and 7/8. 10 and 7/8. How easy can I turn this here? It's got some pressure. How about this one? Oh, this is... That's way too easy. See that? Definitely easier compared to this. Oh, yeah. Man. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, well, I see everything looks to be just the same. And, yeah, nothing that I can see is different. So I think we should be pretty well good to install these. So let me grab my service manual and see what our torques are supposed to be. And we'll go out there and get this put back on. I'm just going to take some light, very light sandpaper and just go over this into the crank very lightly. Just make sure that's all shined up and free of rust. It actually wasn't nearly as bad as what I thought it would be, but we'll do it there nevertheless. Okay, we got our new clutch. That push right up on there. Got our bolt. And we're going to take a little bit of Loctite on it. I wonder if we did booger up the end of our crankshaft a little bit. Let's pull this back out of here. Wipe that Loctite off before it dries in there. Okay. That's not real good. Yeah, let me work at this here a little bit. We'll be right back. All right, I was able to go in there and run a tap down the threads there and was able to get them cleaned up. So now we're able to thread in there pretty decent. The very ones there at the beginning kind of got a little bit smooshed, so we had to work around that there a little bit, but we got it. Threads in there as it should now. So we should be all ready to go. So we'll take all this back up here. Okay. A little bit of luck. Yep, there it goes. Threads right in. Nice. Very nice. Okay, so torque spec on this. It's supposed to be 37 plus 7. So that would tell me that if we go to 37 to 44, somewhere in that range, we should be pretty well set. All right, with that all up to torque, we should be all good to go there. Everything looks like it spins all right, so that's good. Clutch moves in and out. Awesome. All right. Let's see if we can get the back one on. Hopefully that one should be a little bit easier. Guess before we get too far ahead of ourselves, should put our dust cap on the end of our clutch housing. And then our outside plug. Oh, guess it'd be good if I put it on the right way, wouldn't it? Very nice. Alright, we'll put a little bit of Loctite on our bolt, just the same. This one here is supposed to be 27 foot-pounds. So not quite as heavy as the front one. Gonna use a cloth on this clutch in hopes that we don't mark it up. See, if that vice grip will stay there, that might just help me out a little bit. Alright, going to 27 foot-pounds. There's 20. There we go. That's a strong 27. Did leave a little bit of a mark. We'll just sand that down. Just a little bit of a mark. There we go. Make sure that's all nice and smooth in there for that belt to ride up and down. Yep, there we go. Perfect. And I suppose last but not least we have our belt, which looks a little bit better than our original one there, and hopefully it'll last a little bit longer. Being these clutches are nice and new, let's see what we can do about getting this on. I guess the direction of travel is supposed to be this way according to our arrows. Get that worked on there. There we go. Okay. Well, much as I'd love to start this thing up right now and see what happens, I don't think we can quite do that yet. That's all right. I believe here for the minute I'm going to call it a night, and we'll let that carburetor finish drying, and tomorrow we'll resume here and get this thing buttoned up and maybe even take it for a test drive if we get that far. Well, before I call it a night here, I'm kind of curious to see what this looks like. Let's pop this off quick. again. There we go. Apart from being pretty dirty, I don't really see too much there. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really exactly know what I'm looking for. But nothing seems extraordinarily worn, I don't guess. I'm just kind of looking at our examples, where you can see them. And looks like we have looks like we have option A for the weights anyway. Yeah, right away looking, I don't really see much in the way of the diagram there to kind of tell us what's worn and what isn't. I mean, if I look at those poles, I don't know, they don't look to me terribly worn, but it was obviously having some issues, so. Yeah, I can see it not sitting up tight up against there, so. Alright, well, very good. I am going to call it a night here. It'll just be a second here for you guys, of course, but be the next day or so until I get back around to this. It's getting kind of late here, and gotta wait for our carburetor to finish drying anyway, so I will be back in just a moment. It is the next day here for me, and back here at our carburetor. Looks like everything dried up pretty good. So I guess from here we'll go ahead and start reassembly on this. Grab myself a few screwdrivers. Alright. So we got our gaskets here and all that. Yeah, alright. Well, let's go ahead and start with getting this motion tube back up in here. And drop that back up into place. Got that going the right way, correct? Yeah. There we go. There, drop down in. Alright. I'll put our plug back in there. Our main jet. Looks like it cleaned up pretty well. Pretty happy with it. Didn't really seem terrible dirty overall. That bowl was really dirty though. There was a lot of sediment in that bowl, so I'm definitely glad that we got it cleaned out. But overall, it seemed to be in decent shape. Figuring they were using it, so it shouldn't have been too terrible. But while we're here doing some maintenance on it, we might as well just ensure that everything is clean and rebuilt as it should be. Alright. Got our needle and float assembly back in here. There we go. Perfect. That was working fine there. Alright. There's our bowl gasket, which we can go ahead and put on our bolt. I'm sorry, that was our screw gasket. Here's our bowl gasket. Work our bowl gasket back into that groove there again. So it has to kind of stretch in there a little bit. There we go. It's back into place. Alright, I don't really see a way that this should or shouldn't go on. Sometimes there'd be a little divot for this float down in there to give it some more space, but this is perfectly round all sides. So this is our drain for the bowl, so I guess I'm just going to plan on putting that out so that you can get in to drain the carburetor easy enough. So that will be this direction, so we're just going to put the bowl on like that. So that way it faces the front of the carburetor. But you should be able to get down in there then and drain that as needed. Alright, put our main bolt back into place. And everything looks good on the seal. So we'll go ahead and tighten this down. Don't need to go crazy tight, we want it snug. So there it's snug. Okay, so what kind of gaskets do we have here now? Alright, well this one here goes on the front. That's pretty obvious. That one goes on there. This is going to go on here. Like so. Alright, we got that part figured out. Now for the back side, should be this one right here. And then it's going to be, should be, this plate on there like that. And then this little one will go on there. And I bet this one is probably still stuck to the intake out there. So, but everything here is assembled. So let's go out to the Gator here. And get that seal off, and then we should be ready to throw our carburetor back on into place and kind of start buttoning that side of things up. So yeah, let's hop back out there now. See how much of a pain here it's going to be to get this old gasket off. So far it seems to be coming off pretty decent. Be careful that we don't send any gasket material down through our intake. As a matter of fact, well now before I get going too far, just take a piece of paper towel. We'll just push that into the intake. There we go. That way we can ensure that nothing gets in there that's not supposed to. This might be a little bit easier if I took this shield off, but to be fair, those bolts are pretty hard to get to, and I don't necessarily think we have to. This might just take just a little bit longer, but until I fool around with getting them bolts out, we'll probably all but have it done as well. So we'll just struggle through it, but we'll get it done. Sure, you guys probably can't really see what I'm doing, so I might just cut the video here, but you kind of get an idea what I'm doing. I'm doing the same thing there that I did on the carburetor to scrape the gasket off, and I'll bring you guys back here as soon as I'm ready to install the carburetor again. Okay, got all this old gasket cleaned away, so we should be ready to get our carburetor on. Looks like that worked out really well for us. Nothing went back in there, so that's good. Alright, so it was this gasket here. See if I can remember this, because I got the brain of a squirrel sometimes. Okay, then we should have our shield go. Okay, now we have this throttle plate in here, and that looks like, okay, so that goes on the front side because we've got this hole. Okay, so that does not connect. So then in that case, it would be our second gasket. Go in there. And then it would be our carburetor. Now, before we put our carburetor on, we want to put our governor springs and probably our linkage back on. That might be the easiest. So let's go ahead and put our, let's see. Yeah, carburetor goes this direction. Make sure we get it going the right way. Okay. So put our linkage in there. Pull this up a little bit. Get that slid on. Okay. There we go. That goes into place there. And then we'll have our front plate. But I'm going to say that because of the way the carburetor is, we're going to put our gasket on here, like that. And then our throttle plate will go on here. Now, can I manage to get the cable back in? Oh yeah, okay, perfect. Alright. And we'll slide our throttle cable on there, like such. And on the very front, would be our bracket. Now, I think I might have put that gasket on the wrong direction because we definitely scraped the gasket off of this. So as a matter of fact, I bet this is metal to metal. Yeah, that's right, from memory. Okay, so this is metal to metal. And then the gasket's gonna go on this side. Okay, let's make sure this is all clean. Okay, yeah, there we go. Gasket on there like that. We put our air filter housing into place. Just tighten it all down. Since they give us all the room in the world back here, this shouldn't be a problem at all. That's alright. We'll get it. Try to tighten both sides here as equally as we can. I don't think we can fit in there that way, yeah. Definitely, we're not a fan of giving us much space to work, that's for sure. There we go. Feeling pretty snug. Yeah. I don't see the need to go very tight. Yeah. Okay, that looks good. All sturdy. We're going to replace this hose. This hose is pretty dry cracked. There's another hose here that I mentioned about. This one here. As far as I can tell, this just seems to be like it's a little breather. So I'm just going to put that back on. It doesn't really go to anything. It just kind of hangs down here. So we're just going to we're just gonna roll with that. I thought it was maybe like a bottom end crankcase breather, but it doesn't seem to be, so we're just going to let it on there and let it be happy. Okay, our main fuel line comes around here. It's pushed on like such. Okay, and I'm gonna pop this off of here. We're gonna just replace this line. This line's getting pretty dry, cracked. It's just a crankcase breather, but if you can see that or not, it's starting to want to split through, so we'll just replace it quick. Cut a piece of 5/8 fuel line, which will work just fine here, I believe. Yep. Should work just great. Since our carburetor's on, is we want to get our magneto in here. So let's run back in the shop here, and I'm going to show you testing that new one to kind of show the difference between the old one. And then we'll bring it back out here and put it on. Okay, so we have our old coil on the bench here, and we're going to measure the primary coil windings one more time, just to kind of remember what that was. And our allowable limit, according to Deere, is 0.67 ohms to 1.10 ohms. So if I recall, our primary windings measured good, which they do. It's between 0.8 and 0.9 there, it looks like. Now our secondary winding was the one that was showing to be bad. So if I throw this back and down in here, and we hit this, so this measurement right here is supposed to be between 6 and 10 ohms, which, as we can see, we're at 13. So that is showing to be on the bad side of things. Okay, so let's do the exact same test on our brand new Kawasaki coil and see what we get. Okay. Alright, so take this back. Just test in here. Okay, so our primary coil is testing good. It's testing just the same as the other one. Now the real test is going to be going this direction. Will it be good? Oh, look at that. 7.8. So if our limit is between 6 and 10, this is right in the middle, and as a matter of fact on the low side. So this is great. That's great. So that shows us this coil here is going to be just fine for us. Alright, so just looking things over, make sure everything looks the same, everything matches. Don't see any kind of issues. Let's see, 21171, 21171. Yep, part numbers are the same. Okay, so now we just need to switch our boots and our shields over. So we're going to have this facing the same way. Now the way this works is it simply just unscrews from the end. It's just kind of shoved into the end. There's a little screw down in there. I'm sure you probably can't really see it, but that's it. So then we take this dust shield off and this dust shield off. And we're going to slide everything on the exact same way it just came off onto the new one. like such. And here we want to just screw our end down into our wire. There we go. Feels like it's in place. And just take our dust shield, push that back into place. There we go. We have our new coil set up and ready to go. So what's our air gap between a flywheel? Our air gap is going to be 0.3 mils or 12-30 seconds. Grab our gauge and get that prepared. So let's see. 0.3 millimeter or 12 thousandths. Be right here. Okay. So we got our air gap gauge, our new coil. Let's go throw this back on. Might be a little bit hard to see down in here, but I will do my best for you guys. So we're just going to pull out the bolts that we put in to keep things in place. And then we're going to take our new coil down in here. As a matter of fact, I forgot the ground cable, so let me get that here. Back here with the ground cable. I just forgot about that. So that gets put, slipped right on here. Like so. Okay. Now. Let's see if we can work this up here behind our governor linkage without bending anything. There we go. Okay. Perfect. All right, just like that. So get our bolts started in. We don't want to tighten these yet because we still have to set our air gap between the flywheel and the magneto itself. So we want to leave these kind of loose. And then we're going to take our gauge and we're going to slide that if we can. There we go. In between, we're going to slide that in between our magnet and the flywheel itself. There we go. Okay. Now we spin this till we get the magnet up top here. Yep. Alright. Stuck a little bit. Okay. Get that work down in here. Hopefully my arms are not in the way for you guys to see. Okay. Alright, there we go. Okay, so we got our magnet up under here, and we got our magneto, and then we got our air gap set between the magnet and the magneto. So we are gapping the magneto right now. If we didn't, it would drag on this flywheel all the time. And then of course from here, we would just go through and tighten this coil down. And then we can pull out our 30 thousandths, or I'm sorry, our 12 thousandths gauge. And the bolts will hold it in place, and we will have properly set our gap. Okay. All looks good. Should be able to spin our flywheel and pull out our gap. And our flywheel should spin. Yep. Not hitting anything. Okay. Let's go ahead and get our ground hooked up then. So we have our kill wire. And that goes back under here. And then it gets clipped up and under here so it doesn't get taken into the flywheel. Because of course that would be pretty bad. Let's see, I need a screwdriver. Get this clipped down in our tab and bend the tab over. I'm sure you guys can't see this, I'm sorry. Not a whole lot of room over here. Okay, got our ground pulled back up through here. We can go ahead then and refasten that into our harness, which will probably be a little easier said than done, because they didn't really give us a whole lot to work with. Spark plug doesn't look too hateful, to be fair, but since we're here changing the electrical system and all that, because we know this had multiple cold fires on it, we're just going to replace it. We're just going to start all new. Everything here has been updated. Gap it, they went 30 thousandths on the gap, so there we go. Okay. Alright, there's our new spark plug insert. Has this ever happened to you guys? Those boots inside those spark plug pieces want to pull out. I should probably glue mine in there. That probably would help. Alright. Go. Positive contact. Okay, so at this point in time it should run. I don't really know if I want to run it at the minute, being as though our governor plate and everything is not attached. So let's just go ahead and finish kind of lightly putting this thing back together, and I'll leave some of the hard bolts out, and then we'll try to start it. But I think we're pretty well at the point that we're about ready to test start it. So yeah, let's get some pieces back on here, and then we'll see if she'll fire up. Okay. So as far as I know, she should start up and run just like that. So let's I guess let's hit the key and see what happens. But I think we should be okay, at least to try it. I'll tell you what though, maybe before I do that, let me just put a bolt or two in this front shield just to ensure it doesn't go all wild. Just kind of gently hold it in place. I don't feel like as much work as I had to put into getting this thing off of here. The bottom bolts were pretty rough to get to, so I don't want to take the time to put them all in. If we have some kind of an issue, then we have to take it back off. So I want to kind of take it a little bit light on the assembly. for the direct moment. There we go. Yep, that'll hold that cover there still for us. All right, let me grab the key, get a little different angle for you guys to watch, and let's see what happens. I don't have a muffler on it. We have the muffler off still, so it might sound just a little bit wild. But let's see what happens. We're going to give it a quick spin over. Okay, okay. I'm liking it. All right, let's go full ham. Let's give her a little bit of acceleration here. Almost had it. Okay. Well, it wants to run. Get our gasket out of there before we lose it. Pretty good. A little bit of back pressure there without the intake being on and muffler, I'm sure, but let's put her in gear. All right, let's see how the clutches sound. The clutches sound a whole lot better. Let's shut her down. All right. Man, the clutches sound so much better, so much more smooth. Man, that made a big difference. Okay, well, let's, I'm just going to go through here and button everything else up. And then I think we should be able to go back and start doing our tuning again. And I think we're going to have it. That's awesome. I'm super happy about that. I think I may have forgotten to press record on the camera there. My mistake. But a muffler is back in. The bottom bolts are back in and tight. Top ones are back in and tight. Everything here is tight on the muffler side. I do believe we should be ready for some tuning. Spark plug's in, our governor's fastened. Everything else is on, the muffler's on. This is our plug to our bed actuator. As a matter of fact, I think we can actually get that hooked up because that is going to be brushing against our tires. So why don't I just throw that into place here next. We'll just go ahead and hook it all back up here. Since I don't really think we need it wide open like this here anymore. Or at least hopefully not. I think we're done fiddling around here. Alright, so our air box is hooked up, our linkage is all hooked up, our wires, our ground's all hooked up, our fuel line, spark, muffler, clutches. I don't believe I am missing anything. I think we are ready to get back to tuning it, kind of like how we did there in the earlier part of the video. So I'm going to get it started and get it warming up again, and then we'll check idle speed and all that good stuff. Things have been running here for a little while. Things are pretty nice and warm. Got some heat coming off the engine. Let's just see what we're idling at currently. Currently idling at right around 11:20, 11:30. And I'm looking back over here at my chart. And let's see. We want to see our idle to be between 1125 and 1200. So it's a little bit on the slow side right now. But let's see how our throttle response is. If I whack this throttle, what's it like? Alright, not bad. Let's give this low fuel mixture screw just a little bit of a turn. Alright, what is that like? Let it stabilize out here again. Okay, now we're running a little bit slower. And I've leaned it out just a little bit. So let me now bump it up just a little bit. Stabilizing around the 11.9, 11.8. Let's bump the throttle and see how that response is. Alright, that seems to have a much better throttle response. Let's let this stabilize out a little bit, and I might just back it off just a little bit. We'll see here once. Wanting to stabilize. And the high 1200 mark. Just back this off just a little bit. stabilize there. About 11:30, 11:20. I'd like to see it just a little hotter than that. Let's bring a little bit more fuel back into the mix, kind of like how I had it. And give it another throttle whack. There we're running about 1170, 1160, 50, 60. I'll let it stabilize a little bit, but I think we might just leave it there. Drive it around a little bit and make sure everything feels like it should. Yeah, we're on the high ends of 11s. I think I like that pretty good. All right, let's give her wide open throttle here on the pedal, and we should be. Let's see, what does our chart say? Nothing over 3,800 for this. Okay, so let's give her all the beans she wants, and let's see what we get up to. Alright, that was on the low side of 36. So what I'm going to do here now is let me put it in gear. And I'm going to, that way it has a little bit of resistance behind it. And then I'm going to back off this high side just a little bit. See if we can get just a little bit more out of it. Go like a quarter turn. Alright, let's give her the juice again and let's see what we get up to. We got up to 37. About 3750. So this here, it says throttle control arm fast idle screw setting 3750 plus 100. So we have 3750 to 3850 basically to play with. But I think as long as we keep it about 3750 there, I think I'm going to be happy with that. Take the load off of it and see where she's going to idle back down to. idling about 1200 with it in drive with a little bit of load on the engine. But looks like we're going to idle back down. About 1200. Yeah, about 1200. So it looks like I could probably even back this idle screw back off just a little bit more. Pretty touchy. We might just have to leave it where we had it. There we go. Got it sitting about 1150, 60, 70, somewhere in there. All right, let's take her back up to full beans at neutral and see what we top out at. On neutral with no load, we topped out at 3780. So that's perfect. That's exactly where we want it. Currently in neutral right now. Let's see where the idle speed's going to fall back down to. But I think we might have it. I think we have it. 1150, 1160, 1140, 1150. Seems like it's going to be pretty happy right there. $1130s. If I wanted to, I could always take this in just a little bit. Bump the governor itself down. Right about there is where I'm going to say it's going to be happy. We'll run it around a little bit and just make sure, but I think that's going to do it. It seems like it's going to be pretty happy right about there. Very, very nice. Okay, does it restart? Right back up. Awesome. Okay, now I'm curious to see. Let me grab my spark tester and I want to see if our spark's any brighter. Oh, wow. Turn this light off. See that? That's much brighter than it was. I'll throw in a video here of it before so you can see what it looked like before. That's much brighter. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put some of these panels and covers back on that we're missing here yet. And it's dark and it's kind of late here again tonight, so I won't be able to test drive it. I'll have to follow up with that here in tomorrow for you. But one thing we can do here yet tonight is that tire is flat over there on the passenger side, so we're going to pull that off and see if we can find a leak and either put a tube in it or fix it here. But otherwise, I think we're pretty well good to go. Maybe some final tuning, but otherwise, I think we're right as rain. So yeah, I'm going to throw some covers on, and we'll throw that tire, take that tire off, and see what we got. Let's add a little bit of air to it and see if we can't figure out where this leak was coming from. Do we have anything in it right now? Yeah, it's totally flat. So let's get a little bit in here. What's our max PSI? It says 15. All right. One of the best places I like to start is with the valve stem. Just take a little bit of soapy water and check the valve stem and check the bead. I don't see any bubbles here on this side. Let's flip it around and let's see if we see anything on this side. These are the most common places that they like to leak. And before we spend the time and wet down the entire tread of the tire, I like to make sure we don't see anything obvious here right off, and it doesn't look like I see anything, so I'm going to go ahead and put some soapy water down along the tread and maybe see what we got. I see there's a slice right there. Now that might be it, actually. I don't hear anything, but yeah, if you can see it there bubbling up. So right there's one leak. Let's go ahead and mark that so we don't lose it. Alright, let's roll it around here and see if we see anything else. I'm going to assume that that's probably it. Most likely. It's a pretty decent gash, so. Yeah, I don't really see anything else. So let's let the air out of this and take the tire off and see what that looks like on the inside. We might be able to patch it and then put a tube on it, perhaps, or we might be able to get away with just a patch. Not sure. Let's tear it apart and see what we see on the inside. Pro tip: if you want a little bit of cushion, don't scratch your wheels up and stuff, go to your local Napa or truck stop. Get yourself some mud flaps. They work really great, particularly if you do this outside in the mud, and keep everything a whole lot cleaner, easy to wash. You can store it in the back of your truck. I prefer mud flaps. They're pretty nice. Might have to break this other side first. That's a pretty long ways. Little WD-40 will help it break if you're having trouble getting it to break. These are definitely really on there. I have to go to Old Faithful. There we go. Nothing the duckbill hammer won't take care of. There we go. Let's see if we can get this side to break. There we go. Perfect. Should be able to just go along then and pry your bead out. Now most of the time these tires only come off one way. And you see how the lip here is so much smaller? That's because the wheel gets smaller. So you need to be able to stretch the tire on and off. You'll notice if I go to this side, here's a good way to see it. See how small that lip is? It allows the tire to drop down in so you can stretch it on and off. If you try to take it off this way, you'd be in for a real struggle. There we go. Alright, let's take a look at this tire and see what we see on the inside. Move it up to the workbench. Pull it open the tire, we found two problems that we didn't see before. So right here we have a plug, which means it's been repaired there before. And let me find the other place. It'd be up here at the top. Let's see. That's where you guys can see it. There we go, I think you can see in there. So you can see right here at the tip of my finger there's a nail. So we have a nail right there. Now, I don't actually see a problem with the other gash that we saw, and that was right about here. Now, I don't see any gash coming through, and it doesn't really feel soft. So what I think is going on is that the air is getting into the liner walls through these other pieces and leaking out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix this nail, and then we're going to put a patch over this, and we're going to put a patch over that plug, and then we're going to put a tube in this. I think that's going to be probably our safest bet. So what I like to use here on these, it's called a plug patch, and it looks like this. So it's got a patch and a plug all in one. I like to use these, so we're going to use it on this application. For the plug, I'm just going to simply cut the plug flush, and then we'll put a patch over it so it doesn't wear on the tube. But for this one here, we're actually going to want to drill this out and put a plug patch in it. If not, you'll risk rusting the cords. Water can get in there and rust those cords. So let's see if we can't fish this nail out of here. There it comes. Oh, there it is. Okay. So now all we need to do is take a drill a hole in our tire. Like that. Alright, then we're going to come around to the inside. Make sure I'm up and down. Come around to the inside and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. So hopefully you can kind of see this here. So right there's our hole. And what we need to do, where'd my patch go? Here we go. So what we need to do is grind this rubber down so that our patch lays flat. So we normally would take a buffer wheel or something here, and we're just going to go over it and make this smooth so that our patch can seal. Okay. Now we want to take a little bit of cleaner and spray that up there so that our patch will stick to it. Like so. And we'll take our glue. Our glue lid's kind of stuck. There we go. Take our glue. We don't need a whole lot. Just kind of paint this area with some patch glue. Alright, now we let that sit and get tacky, and then we put our patch in. So let me let this sit a little bit and then we'll be right back. Our glue is dry. So the way these work here now is we want to peel off that portion, and we want to put a little bit of glue on just the stem. Just the stem here, not much, just a little bit. And we can peel off our main portion of the patch. And we're just going to stick it through the hole. Might have to get on this side to do that. Let's see, right there. There you go. I'll grab it with a pair of pliers and pull it right on through. And we want to pull it until the inside is flush. Back on the inside, take our patch roller, and we're going to roll that patch nice and flat into our glue. Rolling it both ways. There we go. And then we can peel off our plastic. Back on the outside then, once it's all rubbed up, just go ahead and cut their plug off. There we go. A successfully patched tire. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead, and since you kind of saw how I did that, I'm just going to run through and do the other one, the one that's already plugged. Now that one there, I'm probably not going to take the existing plug out. It looks like it's in there pretty good, so we're just going to leave it in there. I'm just going to cut it off on the inside and buff it down, and then I'll just take one of these flat type patches and we'll put it over it to make sure the tube doesn't get worn through and I think we'll be ready to tube it then. Okay, once we got all of our patching done, we'll want to make sure all of our rubber pieces and everything are blown out of the tire so that nothing's in there is going to hurt the tube at all. Cut out our valve stem because we are not going to need that anymore. And then we can go ahead and put our first tire bead on. So I'll take a little bit of tire compound to help it slide on here a little bit easier. Put it on the bead. Alright, let's get one side started. Go this way so maybe you guys can see. Get one side kind of started on there. Take one of the tire bars. And you should just be able to go around and pull your bead on. There we go. Tire got a little flat. There we go. Okay. Alright. Now, what I like to do is I like to make sure the valve stem is at the bottom on the wheel. And I'll take my tube, and I've taken the core out of it. I'm just going to inflate it because the tubes go in there one way and one way only, and I don't like to get it wrong. So I'm going to put a little bit of air in it. Perfect. See how the valve stem's sticking out of one side, not the other? This side's the side we want. It's going to go through our hole of the wheel. So we want to stick it in here this way. Like so. Get it around the wheel. And now not all of them have this, but this one does, and it's nice. It has a washer and a nut. Since it's a UTV tube, it helps hold it into place, which would be nice when we go to air it up. Okay, sit it back down, ensure our tube is dropped out of the way. Put a little bit of tire mounting compound on here. And we want to start beside the valve. It doesn't matter which side. I prefer this side. We're going to start this side. And we're just going to start barring this tire on. And be careful as you're doing this that your bar doesn't go down too deep and pinch the tube. There we go. Just like that, we're in. Let me get my air chuck on here, and we'll put a little air into it. Put our valve core back in. Now, it's not mandatory for you to do this here next part, but it might help you if you do. Stick your bar in there and hold this out. What happens, air gets trapped in, and if you don't let the air out, it can hiss out of here for a while. So it just helps you out. So just hold it in there until you can't hold it in there anymore, basically, and just let everything kind of inflate. We want to ensure while we're doing this that we're watching the beads and making sure that they're seating correctly and not off to the side, or you don't want to blow it out from underneath the tire, or the wheel, excuse me. Spray a little WD-40 down there to help it slide out. And watch your fingers and watch your face. There's one bead. Just waiting for the back bead. Any moment here. There we go. Looks pretty well seated the whole way around. Okay. How much pressure do we have in here? Oh, we're still good. We only got 10. Let's take her the whole way up to 15. Make sure it's thoroughly seated. Okay, so this here says 5 psi. At working condition, no more than 15 psi to seat the beads. Alright, so we'll back this back down to about 5 then, since that's where they say they want it. Then we'll get it stuck back on the Gator. Alright, service manual calls for 65 foot-pounds on the torque here. Okay, there we go. Good as new. I'm going to go through here and start cleaning all my tools up and everything off of here. I think we pretty well got it all back together and everything's working fine, it seems. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all this off. I'll call it a night here for today, and tomorrow we will take things on a test drive and see how they operate from here. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned up, and we'll be back with you guys in just a second. All right, it is the next day here for me. During the day, we actually got some sunshine, and I think we are ready to test this thing out. So I'm going to pop the back open here, just take a quick look down in there and make sure I don't see any leaks or anything, and then we'll hit the trail and see how it does. Okay, everything still looks to be in order. I don't see any drips from our carburetor. Everything seems to be dry. Everything's still in the place it should be. Okay. I believe we're ready to go see what this thing can do. Alright, let's start with a cold start and see how she does. I'm just going to give it just a little bit of throttle here and a little bit of choke and see what happens. Very nice. I'll let off the throttle. Wants to idle pretty decent. Yeah, it seems to be alright. Wanted to die out there a little bit too much throttle too quick on a cold engine. Alright, seems to be alright. Alright. Let's take it for a drive and see what happens. Well, I think we probably solved the problem, it would seem like. We just had this thing out and around for a while. Ran this thing for about 30 minutes up and down the road and through the trails. Got this thing up some pretty steep hills and down through some terrain, and it performed well. The clutch didn't slip at all. Belt's not smoking. Everything seems to be alright. Let's see if it restarts. Oh yeah. Yeah, the restart seems like it's going to be alright. Well, I would say the coil fixed that problem then. It definitely tested bad. There wasn't any switches else that would test bad, so that should pretty well take care of the problem, I think. Alright, well, I suppose that's about all I got for this one. I appreciate you guys stopping by to watch. This was a fun project to do. Definitely don't work on UTVs, ATVs, stuff like that very often, but when I do, they're always fun to work on, a little something different than lawnmowers and weed whackers, you could say. If you're not subscribed and want to see more of this type of content, make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss any future uploads. And if you liked the video, hit that like button. It does help out the channel. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you have a Gator like this? Did the clutches ever give you issues? Maybe you had a coil problem too. Love to hear from you. Let me know down below. With that, I am off to get this back to the customer and make a few phone calls. So I will see you in the next video.